everybody. Welcome to ICC's Game of the Week with your host, as always, Joel Benjamin. This week's show will be a tribute to Grandmaster Walter Browne, who recently passed away at the young age of 66. Walter's self-appointed sobriquet six-time U.S. champion proved unlucky as he could not add to that total once the reference came into common usage. Nevertheless, only Reshevsky and Fischer have done better. Walter was the dominant American player in the second half of the 70s. When I came on the scene, all the kids wanted his scalp, and many of us got it too. He was so uncompromising as a player that he thought he could win any position and would take foolish risks against players he thought he should beat. Now, I've selected a game that is not well known and perhaps not one of his best, but it shows a lot about the kind of player he was. At age 45, he was a good decade past the end of his prime, but he still had a thing or two to show to a younger, overconfident opponent, okay? And that guy, of course, is going to be me. All right, so this was from the 1995 U.S. Championship. And Walter was a D4 player for most of his career. I think that as he got older, he actually started playing more E4, and actually he tried to play actually more, rather more aggressive game because he just didn't want to have to play long games anymore and play technical chess because it was too physically demanding. Now, back in the 90s, I was playing a lot of D6 systems. And so grandmasters, of course, are fluent generally with D4 and E4, so they can switch back accordingly. And so Walter was ready to play the white side of the Pierz, but I went for C6. And this was a favorite opening of mine in the mid-90s, the Pribble. In the same year as this game, I actually used it to defeat Deep Blue in a training match, which was a kind of an important game for me because it led to me being hired by them to be the consultant. But more relevantly to this story, I won a game against Walter in the championship the year before with this move C6, and in that game he played knight F3, more conventional development, and bishop G4. That's the basic idea, is to develop the bishop and then to set up a kind of light square pawn chain like a French defense, but without the bishop being hemmed in. But Walter had prepared for this game, and he played F4. And this kind of shows how, naive and foolish I could be, even though I was an established grandmaster already in my 30s. I kind of forgot how dangerous Walter could be. Now, I'm going to, say up front, I had a very good score against Walter. I lost the first game when I was 15, and I beat him the second time when I was 16. And I always had great success against him after that. I beat him in many U.S. championships, and I think the total was about 7 wins for me and 2 for him, not including blitz games. Of course, I did escape him in his best years. I played him first in 1979, and he probably was completely dominant in the 4 or 5 years before that. But because I did so well against him, I think I was probably, a little bit too confident about going into the same opening again. I think 2 years in a row in the U.S. Championship probably wasn't a smart idea. And you see that he goes in a very different direction by building up the bigger center with F4, a more aggressive way to play. So this gives me kind of opportunity to get into a little bit what type of player Walter was. People tend to think of players in terms of being positional or strategical or being tactical, being aggressive. But that's not